What it is? How's it going, everybody? Today we're going to be doing yet another cartoon retrospective. This time for all the cartoons coming from Cartoon Network. We're going to talk about all the things from cowardly dogs to brilliant young boys in their laboratories to teens and their titans. We're going to talk about all the things. So if you want to hear what we have to say, sit back, relax, grab a snack, grab a beverage, and listen on in to the first ones to die.
Hey everyone, welcome to the First Ones to Die podcast. My name is Jonathan. I am here with Alex and Jerome. Jerome, how you doing?
Doing good, man. Chilling. Been watching Wu-Tang, an American Saga on Hulu. It's about to end. It's on its final season, and it's good. If you're a Wu-Tang fan, I highly recommend it. It does make up a lot of stuff, so just know that going in. It does tell the story of how the Wu-Tang Clan was formed and came together and made music and all that stuff. But there's a lot of stuff they kind of fudge to make it a little more dramatic. So just know that going in. But it still is an entertaining show. All the actors do a decent job. And I'm digging it a lot. So that was fun. And that's pretty much it. Been working a lot. So I'm real tired. But we power through nonetheless.
Yes, and Alex, how you doing?
That was like a newscaster moment.
Yeah, like a long
long pause, and then you were like touching your earpiece, waiting. I'm doing good. I was just trying to.
I thought Jerome was gonna toss it. That's what I was... But there was the pause.
Yeah, I'm doing good. I was just trying to move stuff over because I know eventually Cheddar's going to jump up here, and I'd rather him like not knock over all my shit. So I'm like trying to prepare for his inevitable. He will jump up. Thank you. English is hard. But it's been kind of a.
I thought you were trying to say inedible.
Week. Well, he is not an edible thing, so technically that is still a correct statement. In a way. But yeah, it's not been the greatest of week, but like I've been doing better. I actually got my car broken into on Tuesday, so that was like no fun, of course. It's fine. Yep. They didn't break any windows. They kind of messed up the inside of my car a little bit. I think they were upset I didn't have nicer stuff to steal, but like no real value lost or anything like that. So I'm a little more fortunate than, I know other people have gotten their cars broken into and it's been really bad and things like that. Well, even Jerome, you've had your like window smashed.
And the car stolen.
Yeah. Yeah, but you got it back within like 2 hours.
Yeah. I'm sure that's because I had little to no gas, and I feel like any thief worth their salt would be like, I am not paying for gas at these prices just to steal this vehicle. It's not worth it.
Do you think about that now when you're thinking of refilling and you're like, but should I? Because what would happen? Now is it in the back of your mind every time you are?
No,
like,
not at all. I'm like,
nah. You should. Well, like the weirdest thing was like, so I have a cup holder that can like kind of move, like rotate a little bit, so for passenger or thing, just to fit like taller drinks. The guy ripped it off of its little station, and it was like, you didn't have to do that. You didn't have to rip off the tiny little cup holder. Yeah, like that was total overkill. I get it. You're upset that I didn't have like more to steal my car, but like you didn't need to do that to the cup holder of all things. It was like rude. Like went from like you being a thief to just being rude. But
that sucks.
Well,
I'm happy you're safe and that nothing major happened.
Yeah, it was okay and nothing. Yeah, it was nothing worth really stealing in the car. No real damage. It's still drivable, so I'm just kind of counting the blessings as I find them right now. So, but how about you, Jonathan? Hopefully your week was better.
It was I finished Swarm, the Amazon series, and it was good. I enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun watching it. It was really enjoyable. Billie Eilish can act. Okay?
She's in that show. What is that show about? Because I've seen things for it, but I still am uncertain.
It's not to give too much away, but it's basically this girl who is obsessed with an artist in the show, and she goes to, might you say, killer lengths to protect the fandom. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, intense.
That's the that's the broad log line of it. But it was a lot of fun. Billie Eilish, she's in one episode, and she's amazing. I would say she might get nominated for an Emmy. Dominique Fishback, who is the main character.
Well,
of
do
the
you
show.
do you think she'll get nominated for like special guest for an episode, kind of like Don Cheadle did?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Dominique Fishback should get nominated too.
She's just great.
She did amazing as well. Mm-hmm.
Ever since Project Power, that was the first time I had ever seen her, and I was like, I don't know who this actress is, but she's going places. She's dope. And then when she was in Judas and the Black Messiah, I was like, oh yeah, it's solidified. Like she's going places.
The fact
For
that
sure.
she didn't get a nomination for that role is appalling.
Right.
Did she not? Who got nominated?
I don't think so.
Okay.
It was I think Lakeith. Did Lakeith get nominated? But I know
he did. He got nominated
Daniel
for
Kaluuya-
best.
Daniel Kaluuya won for sure. He won the didn't he win the Oscar? Or
Yeah,
was
he did. I think they were nominated for the same Oscar actually. Daniel Kaluuya and
Oh really?
or somebody else in Judas and the Black Messiah were like in the same category. Like two of the same actors were in the same.
Yeah, I
category
think it was
together
them.
in that same
I think it was
movie.
them.
Best supporting actor, yeah.
Yeah, because there was like controversy about that. It was like, but regardless, she's amazing in the show. Also, Love Is Blind season 4 just came out, which takes place in Seattle. Chef's kiss. That's all I'm gonna say about that.
Have you noticed their cutaways, the city? Do you recognize the places?
So, in the episodes that Netflix just released, you know how sometimes they do the batches. So they've released episodes 1 through 5 so far, and in those episodes, it's mostly them in the pods and in Mexico. So they're at the end of episode 5, they just got to Seattle. So episodes 5 through 10, they'll be in, or 13, however many episodes it is, they'll be in Seattle.
I've only watched like half of a season of Love Is Blind. So it starts off with them chatting in separate rooms, right? And then they like eventually meet each other and see each other if they like decide, yeah.
Yeah, so they start off in what they call the pods. The men and women are separated in different living quarters, and every day they get to like speed date and blindly talk to each other in the pods. It's these little rooms, and they can only hear each other. And then after like a week or 10 days or something like that, you either need to leave or get engaged to somebody. And once you're engaged, then you get to meet the person and see them. And some people are like, oh my gosh, you're amazing. You're even more beautiful than what I imagined. Other people are like,
dang, you fat. I didn't expect that.
Some people aren't expecting what they see in a bad way. Yeah.
You're trying to say no one's gonna be that blunt on Love Is Blind?
No. They always try to play it off like, wow, and it's usually awkward because it's usually never both people are not interested. It's usually one person is like, oh my gosh, you look amazing. The other person is like,
I mean, you look alright.
Thank you. I'm not returning the compliment, but thank you.
I love that awkwardness.
Yeah.
It's that's an interesting. I always mean to watch it, but I never like end up watching it with my short attention span. But I always think that's such an interesting concept. And yeah, when you talk to somebody, I mean, there is a way you imagine somebody just from their voice. I mean, it's like the same with when you have the customer service voice, and how different it is from the like your actual speaking voice. Well, mostly that was the first half of the premise of oh, what was that movie called?
Oh,
Where
sorry
they
to bother
use
you.
their- Yeah, sorry to bother you.
Oh,
That was the first
yeah.
half of the premise, and then
It went
apparently
wild.
then they get changed into which is so funny that I like ended the movie there and I was like, I'll come back to watch it, and you're like, oh, everybody turns into horses, and I'm like,
You're like,
that
did
was
I put
not
the right movie?
I was I
Spoilers
was like,
for
wait a
Sorry to
minute.
Bother You, by the way.
It's been out for like years now.
Yeah, but that movie did not get like you act like that's a popular movie. Like people, like a bunch of people did not watch that film.
Well, if they
They
do
should
watch
have,
it now, they're definitely not going to still watch it. They're not going to be like, oh, let me rush to it now, because although maybe the horses thing is the thing that's going to interest them. They're weird people who really love horses.
Although Boots Riley, funny to bring him up, he's actually got a new show coming as well, called I'm a Virgo. That's I think
I've
coming
heard
out
of this.
on Amazon Prime or Hulu, one of the two. About this kid who's it's another black commentary, but it's not clear what this one's gonna be about per se, because it's a show, not a movie. But it's like this black kid who's like a giant essentially. And he's lived in like a house his entire life, raised by his parents, but a regular house because he's a giant. And he finally gets out like in his, I think, like 16th birthday or whatever. Like as a teenager, he's finally being exposed to the world. And it looks interesting. It looks like an interesting premise. And I trust Boots Riley to write an interesting, like Sorry to Bother You was one of my favorite movies when it came out of that year.
Yeah.
Just because of how creative it was and how expansive it was on its ideas and stuff, but also the commentary was strong. So I'm curious to see what this show is going to be like.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Well, speaking of shows, today we are talking about Cartoon Network shows. Last week we did our Nicktoon retrospective, where we discussed many of our favorite Nicktoons. This week, in kind of the same realm, we each selected 3 shows for all of us to watch. And we're going to be talking about our favorite Cartoon Network shows. First of all, Nicktoons versus Cartoon Network. Like, what were you guys vibing with when you were a kid?
Cartoon Network, easily. And I think it's just because Nicktoons, everything looked the same. Mostly because they had a similar, I forget who it was. It was the person who did Wild Thornberry, Rugrats.
Oh, Klasky Csupo?
Yeah, like they were doing so many that and that was more of the reruns. And then, of course, when you get in the Butch Hartman era, then it's Fairly Odd Parents and Danny Phantom look the exact same. Like they like Nicktoons likes to have that one.
You know
person.
what doesn't look the exact same? Sanjay and Craig.
You and Sanjay and Craig. Listen, and yes, it does. Sanjay and Craig looks like every other cartoon coming out these days.
I watched it. I did watch it.
Did you? Okay, sorry. Side note, Halt the Cartoon Network. What did you think?
I felt like I needed to be high to watch it. It's a weird ass show. It's not bad. It's like a lot of the cartoons where it's like, as an adult now, I'm like, I would enjoy this so much more, like being a little bit stoned, because it's so just weird.
See, Sanjay and Craig to me
But it was
is
cute. It was a cute show.
Is a show
like
that
the
wants to be
writing
like
in
regular
Sanjay.
show. You ever watch Regular Show?
Yeah. It had that like vibe, but with people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I
as
don't
opposed to
like the
animals.
regular show though. I thought
I thought Regular Show
why.
was okay. I never really vibed with it as much. But I thought it was okay. In fact, I liked the follow-up cartoon that same company did better, Close Enough, that got canceled on HBO Max, and I don't even think it's up there anymore. But that was like, it's in a more adult version of Regular Show. And it was way better. I was like, it's clear that this is what these animators wanted to do, but they got hired by Cartoon Network to make a kids show, so they could only do but so much. And Close Enough was like, okay, now we have our hands are untied. We can just put out the show as is. And it's great. If you can find Close Enough anywhere, watch it, because it's good.
Anyway, Sanjay and Craig was pretty decent. I will give it that.
Okay.
I might return to it once when I'm a little stoned.
Please do.
I think I'll like it more. But see, I did watch it.
Nice. But Cartoon Network.
Yeah, but I was always a Cartoon Network kid because of just the variety. Like you never know what Cartoon Network's going to greenlight. Because that's why I always say like Invader Zim's the one Nicktoons show that I'm like, I'm surprised you put this on your channel. But like, because Cartoon Network was the one where it's like you could get some off the wall stuff from Cartoon Network.
Well, with Nickelodeon, there's and so I was more of a Nicktoon kid. I watched Cartoon Network, but more so Nicktoons. Nickelodeon, you had Pinky and the Brain, Ren and Stimpy.
Well, Pinky and the Brain was from WB. Are you thinking of Ren and Stimpy?
I think I am thinking of Ren and Stimpy.
Yeah, Ren and Stimpy I will give you, yeah. But that's like early
Ren and Stimpy at all. I thought they grossed me out. I hated Ren and Stimpy.
You had Rocko's Modern Life, that sex line joke, that sex hotline joke.
That's true. You know what it is? I'm not thinking of like, because that's like 90s Nickelodeon. And then after the 90s, Nickelodeon got like more watered down. Because like Ren and Stimpy was gone, Cow and Chicken wasn't on no more, Rocco wasn't on no more. Like all of their edgy cartoons were gone, and it was the era of we're making real safe, cute, like nice cartoons that are more slice of life cartoons. Because Hey Arnold, really deep, really interesting, more slice of life. Same thing with like Rocket Power, Rugrats. Like all those shows felt like they were more about kind of just the adventure of the world you live in.
What it was that back in the 90s we had more what was like cartoonish, where it was like animals talking or like these weird creatures. Then we moved into the realm of more meta and humans, where it was the babies, it was the Fairly Odd Parents, and even though there was something special about them, they were still now just like normal humans. Mm-hmm. Same with like Danny Phantom. So I think it's not that it got less edgy, but they moved more to what felt like a reality way, and so they were less entertaining that way. Because there's some weird shit with like SpongeBob and like Fairly Odd. Like I told you about that Baron joke that Timmy Turner made, where he's like, "All my Baron neighbors, come here," and it's like, dude, just because they don't have kids doesn't mean they're Baron. It was just really off the cuff for me. And I think that's what it is. It felt less edgy because there was less. They presented less weird, and presented more human-like. At least for Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network was always presented both. I felt like it was always both, where it was like they had the human cartoons and the weird cartoon, like Gumball, The Amazing World of Gumball. Although that's more new. I love The Amazing World of Gumball. I watch that now because it's just so great, and I love the different art designs.
Well,
and the different styles.
You know why the art
together.
styles are different?
Why?
The original creator, how that show got started is he used to do commercials, like animated commercials, and so a lot of those characters are unused animated characters he made for commercials of different styles, and he put them all into this one TV show. So that's why there's some that are 3D animated, some that are 2D animated, some that are like a weird paper looking like animation, like all types of stuff. And so he just kept with that theme in making more characters for Gumball.
Yeah, which is great. That's like such a smart way, because it's just the different cartoon characters are like fantastic and the different mediums. But yeah, and like Cartoon Network had a weird, like with Dexter's Laboratory. I mean, that was a weird show when you think about it. And I forgot how small Dexter was. What was that? What was his age range? Because he constantly fit in the palm of people's hands. How old was Dexter supposed to be?
I think Dexter was supposed to be maybe like just a little bit older than Dee Dee. Maybe like
I thought Dee Dee was
10.
an older sister.
She
Maybe,
is.
I don't know.
Yeah, she's the older sister. That's why Dexter's younger than her. But he's smarter than her in some aspects. I wouldn't say all of them.
She's emotionally smart. He's like tech smart.
Yeah.
I did forget how weird Dexter's Laboratory was.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not weird like the kind of gross out weird or like whatever weird, but it's just it's a very random show.
Well, that's Cartoon
Well, 'cause
Network. All of them were always like that at that time. Because Courage the Cowardly Dog was
Yeah.
the same way, where it's like especially when Courage is explaining, or the way they visualize him telling Muriel and Eustace what's going on is like the most random. It's like, yo, chill, calm down, with all of these different animations.
I like he does charades. He's like, "Ah, ah, ah, ah," and then he's like turning into the goal. He's like, ah.
Mm-hmm. I completely blocked out of my mind that Courage talked. I forgot he actually he. Granted, he only says like a couple words per episode, but
he kind of talks off screen to us. He can't talk like to Muriel and Eustace. He talks to us where he turn like when he breaks the fourth wall. He's like, these people.
Right.
God damn it.
And he talks to the computer. The computer understands him. I think it's funny. So, audience, like, do you guys Well, firstly, did you guys finish all of them? I know last week we didn't finish all of them.
I did not.
I did not get to Codename Kids Next Door, but I got to everything else.
Gotcha.
I just actively did avoid a kind of kids Next Door, whatever it's called, because I never liked it. So I kind of
that wasn't the assignment. The assignment was to watch these cartoons.
But I kept putting it off, and eventually I couldn't do it.
Too, and y'all failed.
Mm-hmm.
That's not true. Right. I did watch Sanjay and Craig just through my eyelids because I was really tired and fell asleep on it.
I watched like 2 of each of yours, so it was equaled out. I didn't get to 16s, but I've seen 16s like in clips and stuff. So I'm like very aware what it is.
16 brought me back. I'm not gonna lie, because I used to watch 16 a lot too. I watched that a lot.
I've seen a lot of like little bits from it, so I'm like, oh yeah, I know exactly what this is, but I never got to watching to it either.
It wasn't a Cartoon Network like original show. That's why I had to put in my like list of episodes. I was like, this is not a Cartoon Network show, but it used to air on Cartoon Network, and you can watch the episode on YouTube.
That's the thing about Cartoon.
What was it?
It was like some Canadian, because it's a Canadian show. It was on some Canadian network.
Thing about Cartoon Network that was different from Nickelodeon and also Disney to a degree is that Nickelodeon and Disney, they make their own cartoons and stuff. Cartoon Network does make their own stuff, but they also, that's why it's called Cartoon Network. It's also a network that is about also buying cartoons too. So there's a lot of like Johnny Test was not made by them. They bought that to air on Cartoon Network. There's a couple different ones. I think Totally Spies, I think, was in French, or not Totally Spies. Ladybug and Cat Noir, I think his name is. Like they bought that to be on Cartoon Network. That. Like they constantly are also on the lookout for other shows to purchase as well to be on the network. But sorry, what were you saying, Alex?
I think Totally Spies.
Oh. Totally Spies, I could see was from like French or a different country. That show's really random too. That's a funny show. I do hold on. The show I do want to talk about first, and I blame racism for me not being aware of it. It's Craig's Creek. That show is so fucking funny.
It was really cool. It reminded me of Rugrats, but like for like middle schoolers as opposed to babies.
Kind of, yeah. The whole cardboard city, I was dying anytime they were like the scene where they were talking to each other through like the video and it's just drawn pictures. I don't know why. I was cracking up so hard at that I couldn't help it. And like the fact that he had water running through that cardboard city, just genuinely that whole episode made me want to watch more of it. Like it's great. I didn't know the show existed, and I love it already.
Well, you probably missed it because that's a new show. That show came out within like the recent years, so you probably haven't been watching cartoons.
I just
said I watched like Gumball. So
yeah, but Gumball's. I feel like Gumball's different.
I found out about that show because on social media I saw a thing on like a reel or whatever on Instagram a few years ago, and it was like, "Have y'all seen this Craig of the Creek show? This is the blackest show Cartoon Network's had." And
I would agree with that. I would agree with that. Yeah. It is the blackest show they've had in a long time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also, thinking of black shows, we did going back to our Nicktoons retrospective a little bit. None of us picked Lil Bill.
Oh, was that in contention? Because, like, I know. Ooh.
Well, it's technically Nick
Part two.
I don't
Jr.
think I watched Little
but-
Bill.
Well, I mean, there's a little
Is
bit of
Little Bill
controversy. It's a little controversial
Bill
now
that
because it was
weird
made
one?
by Bill Cosby. So,
Bill Cosby.
Oh,
But it was a great show.
but it was
Lil
great.
Bill
It was
great
really
show.
good.
I don't think I ever watched it. I think I got too old before it came on. So there's
Yeah.
a lot of cartoon. When I was watching Nick Jr., it's when they had the Bugs Bunny's like kids on there.
Oh,
What
the
were they?
Looney
Tiny Toons.
Tiny
Oh,
Toons.
Tiny
Yeah.
Toons.
Tiny Toons. So that's like the shit I was watching on Nick Jr. was Tiny Toons, which a lot of people don't know anymore, and it like makes me feel real old.
It is.
I mean-
it's not one that you like. I haven't thought of Tiny Toons in I don't know many years until you mentioned it just right now.
It's the same vein. It's in the same vein as when on Cartoon Network when they had a pup named Scooby Doo on, and I was like, and whenever I think about that show, I'm like, nobody probably knows this show exists anymore except for people who lived through it. But it still is the best Scooby Doo theme song though. That's still my favorite one. It's Scooby Doo, Scooby Doo, Scooby Doo.
You guys were not harmonized at all.
No, we were not. No.
But
Didn't work out
no,
this
Craig's
time.
Creek was great.
Craig
I
of
might
the
actually
Creek.
watch it. Craig.
Craig's Creek actually has a better ring to it though. I think.
But it's not his creek. He don't own it.
When you're a kid,
just
you
lives
own
in
what
it.
you please. Yeah.
Although I agree with you. I think it is easily one of the cutest shows I've ever seen. Of just like these kids have such active imaginations and they're so invested in this adventure, like it's real. But you're like, it's just cardboard. But at the same time, it's like, but this man built a robot out of cardboard,
He did.
like a
It's-
functioning
this show-
robot at that.
Right. And he was military striking the other cardboard city.
Right?
I like when they got to New Cardboard City, or when they got to Cardboard City, and he's like, "I've come for you all," or whatever, and they're like, "Wasn't he just Southern a minute ago?"
Yeah, exactly.
And I was like, "Wait, was he? Yeah, he was." I like that he had a little cardboard tie, a bow tie. It was cardboard. I was like, "This is just so cute."
And
Just that whole episode was cute.
what I love about that is that the whole show is kind of like it's in that vein where it's these are simple, they're just kids playing at a creek or at their house or whatever, but they make such a society out of this creek that you feel like you're dealing with bigger issues at hand, but they're not at all.
Oh yeah, like at the end where she lets the Carter go. No, what was his name?
Carter, the box kid.
Yeah, it was Carter, right?
Yeah.
Where she just lets him go and she's like, "Get out of here and never see you again." There's like some deep feeling there, like, wow, he betrayed your city and you're still letting him go.
Well, he'll be back.
There's like
And in greater
There's
numbers.
a bond there. Yeah, I was like, there's a bond there. There's a you are my enemy, but you are my friend, and I cannot harm you. I was like, that felt real.
Jonathan, did you pick this episode specifically, or did you just pick an episode?
I just basically picked an episode that I remembered I enjoyed. I think last year or maybe the year before, I was watching on HBO Max. I was going through season 1, I think, and then last year I was going through a bit of season 2, and I kind of stopped. I'm like, okay, yeah, this is a good time to revisit it now. Now I might revisit, Craig of the Creek.
Audience, just so you can follow along, we're talking about Craig of the Creek, episode 14 in season 1, entitled "The Future is Cardboard." So if you want to check it out, check it out.
Yes,
I recommend it. It's just adorable, and I had fun. Again, that whole scene, just when they're talking to each other through the cardboard, through the drawn on screens, I was like, and the little characters look so funny on there too. But yeah, that was like one of the ones I enjoyed the most, and one of the ones I was surprised that I actually enjoyed was the Teen Titans one.
Oh, did you like it?
Yeah, I was surprised. I won't lie to you. I was cooking myself dinner and I put it on and I was like, I put up the
Same.
volume. I was like, I'll listen to it into the background. I've seen like Teen Titans episodes before. I've never really cared, but like this one was actually funny, and I like ended up actually sitting down and watching it. I was like, all right, this is good, and it like actually made me laugh. Um, Star
Starfire.
Starfire was. I love the way they animated her anger and jealousy. That was so good. I like at one point she gets so angry she actually looks like a burnt out match.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, that's a great way to like view that.
I remember when I was a kid and Teen Titans had came out, which I was already into superheroes anyway, but I had never known about the Teen Titans. So that was my introduction to Teen Titans, was the show. And I remember watching it, and I was into anime at that time too. And so it was cool to see a show that's American animation fused with anime, where whenever they're expressive or they're like angry or they're sad or they're nervous, like it's expressed in anime, and that's where a lot of the humor comes from in their style. In fact, that's even why they wanted a show that was a fusion of the two vibes so much. That's why the opening is performed by is it Puffy Ami Yumi? What is that? What I looked it up earlier. Puffy Ami Yumi, yeah, who also got their own Cartoon Network show as well because they were so popular.
What was it?
I think it was called Puffy Ami Yumi. But it was like a animated show, and then they would also then you see the real band at the end like performing songs and stuff. But they got popular off of their theme song for Teen Titans, which they did an English version, but I'm surprised that HBO Max has the Japanese version only, which is still good. I like the Japanese version too. But the English version is what I grew up listening to mostly in the States when you watch the show on TV. But nonetheless, I love Teen Titans, and I love its balance between having those silly episodes versus the really serious ones, because it gets dark after, like in some episodes. There's one episode where Raven's dad, who's Trigon, who's the demon lord or whatever, like takes over the world, and the world is wrecked. Like it's bad. And there's no humor to be had. It's like, nah, I was going to pick another episode where Robin is dealing with a hallucination of Slade, and he's fighting Slade, and that's another one that gets dark because he like basically beats himself up because it's not real and he's doing damage to himself. But I was like, nah, I'll pick a fun one so you guys can have some fun watching the Teen Titans just have a good old time.
I recall one, but I think it might have been the new Teen Titans where Starfire, she deals with somebody who dislikes her race, and it's like their only racist episode.
I don't remember.
I think that might have been
that might be Teen Titans Go. Funny enough, Teen Titans Go, that was one where it was it had a rough going when it was introduced because Teen Titans has such a cult fandom, like the original cartoon. And it was supposed to go on for more seasons, but they canceled it after I think 3 or 4. And then they did a movie.
Teen Titans Go came along.
Well, like the reason why it had so much ire is because there was rumors that there was going to be a new Teen Titans show with the same cast. And so everybody was like, oh, shoot, they're bringing back Teen Titans. That's going to be dope. We love Teen Titans. And then when they were like, it's Teen Titans Go. See? Isn't this great? And all those people were like, no, hell no, it ain't great. We hate this show. But then they watched it and then they're like, it's all right. It's not better than the original, but it's not bad.
I do like
it. Still has the. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, I do like the animation of both Teen Titans and Teen Titans Go. I think Teen Titans Go, I haven't seen much of it, but I'll turn it on sometimes. And I think it's probably a little more meta than the original Teen Titans. It's
way more meta than the original Teen Titans is in its own universe. Teen Titans Go is very much like, we're a TV show, and we know that. To the point where there's a crossover TV movie called Teen Titans versus Teen Titans Go, where the original animated versions of Teen Titans interacts with Teen Titans Go, and they have great meta conversations. My favorite being like, "What, man? We'd rather watch you guys. We'd rather watch this show. This show's great. Why are we watching this?"
Right.
Well, I told you there was in Teen Titans Go. I remember them making fun of the Joker. They were trying to sneak into the Joker's lair, and they're doing different versions of him. So it's like, and then they make fun of the Jared Leto one where they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna hurt you real bad," and the security clown is like, "You're not the Joker." They're like, "Why are you ruining this?" And then they went back to like Heath Ledger's Joker. But I ended up. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Sorry, I interrupted you.
You're good. I'm just talking. Go.
Okay. At the Warner Brothers, at the Warner Brothers studio tour, there's a clip of Teen Titans Go in their like Foley demonstration area, and it's of them like speeding through the Warner Brothers lot on it during an episode. So it's like that's very meta.
Yeah, I like. How do you guys feel about the plot of the Teen Titans episode? Were you into it? Were you not into? Like, what made you, or rather, what made you pull you in? Since both of you were decided to make dinner at that time.
One, I was hungry.
Right.
But go on.
I thought it was fun. Kitty was very annoying, which made her a very good like person to root against in the episode. And she's basically doing the act of quid pro quo, where she's saying, "Hey, I have something that you want. The only way to get it is if you go on a date with me," which is very frowned upon nowadays. Don't do that, especially in an office. Don't do that. But yeah, she was doing that.
I think it's when is he like the Mothman?
Yeah,
Like,
Killer
the
Moth.
guy, the villain?
Yeah,
Killer Moth. It's when I heard him do like the dejected sigh, and he's like, "And you have to go on a date with Kitty." Like it was just that when I like was listening, because I remember at the beginning of the episode I only heard it, so I assumed she was like talking to her father, like a normal dad or whatever. And then when I was like finally sitting down and watching it, I saw the Mothman do it. I was like, "Oh wait, what?" I was like, "Did she just get her? Wait, what happened to the dad? Where's the supervillain coming?" So I had almost pictured in my head when I was listening to it like a Lex Luthor thing going on, where he's like all power and everything, and he's gonna like find a way for the Robin to go on a date, but it ended up being like the cartoony supervillain, the Mothman, and he's just dejectedly going. And it was just so funny to see like his little wings dipped and everything. And like for some reason that drew me in, and then the whole interaction between Robin where he was just like, "Yeah, fine," and Starfire was just like doing her animation of anger and everything like that, or her jealousy. That eventually just got me to stick with it, because then I noticed like Starfire's the way they animated her, and I really enjoyed that. Like, yeah, it was the animation that kind of ended up sucking me in more.
Mm-hmm. I will,
because I think sorry,
no, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think the animation. Oh, I will say the difference between like Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon is the emotions expressed in Cartoon Network are more expressive, and I think Nickelodeon kind of holds on to the old style of like expression. The steam coming out of the ears, the more human of like grinding teeth they'll show you, or like them just yelling and them getting a big mouth. With Cartoon Network's expressions of their cartoons, they're much more like animated. They'll use like different styles to express it, or they'll turn their characters into different like inanimate objects or different creatures or things like that to show like anger or jealousy or even happiness. They'll like literally explode into like glittery stuff, and it's like, oh, that's more fun to watch.
Yeah, I was going to say another one I wanted to talk about, because I mainly picked the episode for you, Alex, specifically, was the episode of Gumball.
Yeah,
Which
That
I,
was a good. That was
I
a
hope you
good
got.
episode.
Did you get to watch it, Alex?
I did. I've literally watched all of Gumball, so it was just me rewatching it, and I love it.
I picked it specifically because I was like, it's all horror themed, and I love all of the jokes of all the horror movie characters they make fun of. In especially the ghost,
sweet,
the Samara ghost is my favorite one, where they're just like, "What is it? Oh, it must be a yo-yo." Before they figured out how gravity works, give it a try. Like, what? No. It's a VHS tape for a VHS player. A what?
Yeah, they turned her into like a stereotypic like what sounds like a nail tech when people make fun of like nail techs or something. That's what she sounded like when comedians do that. Thank you for thinking of me. My favorite was the Candyman one.
Yeah, the candy.
And he's like, I don't leave me alone. And then he pulls out, he's like, here's half a peppermint. Leave me alone. So like the Candyman one was actually my favorite because that was like,
I like
he had
this,
a beehive for his head too.
Mm-hmm.
I like the Scream one as well.
Oh yeah,
It's
like that.
oh, you wanna
Especially
scare me, I'm gonna scare you.
Jonathan, have you seen Gumball before?
Like once, one other time.
Oh, okay.
I feel like
But
I
I
made
know-
you watch it.
Maybe I've also I had it on one time, like in my house.
Yeah.
But
It has become one of my favorite. It's become like a comfort show to me. I don't know how I got to watching it. Just one day I started. My favorite scene. It's weird. I have favorite scenes. I don't really have that many favorite episodes with Gumball. But my favorite scene, one that I will just fall over laughing every single time, is when they're looking for a gift for Yanami. She's a cloud. She's a cloud, and they're trying to find her birthday.
I forget her name, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
And she's a cloud, and they were trying to. She's rich, and so they're trying to find out what to get her for her birthday. And she's trying to tell everybody simple gifts. Like, I just want something that makes you think of me, which is like totally understandable. And she's like, oh, I would be happy to have a flower. And Leslie, who is a flower, was like, oh, that's so funny because that's what I got you. And he literally just rips his head off.
Oh, I remember that episode.
Just rips himself off from this thing. And he's like, as he's like stretching himself out to give basically his decapitated head, he's like screaming. He says, ah. And she's like, stop it. And he just goes silent, goes like, I don't know why. That scene just kills me. I will just laugh uncontrollably. I don't know why. But
for me, it's the episode, like the whole episode. Well, two episodes. One is when her mom, like I've honestly forgot her name too, but the cloud girl, her mom comes to town finally and challenges Gumball's mom to a fight because they used to be like in karate together, and the whole episode becomes anime on the back end. It goes from the regular style, just like it's anime all of a sudden, and they're just kicking ass, and then and it's done really well, and I was like, this is awesome. But also the episode where Richard gets super fit, and then he just goes around the town taking pictures of himself, like especially at the mall where he's just like walking away with the tires, and then the fire truck's like, hey, you can't take those tires off a fire truck.
Yeah, he like just takes a bunch of selfies and people are like, and he's like, you're welcome. And yeah, that episode's ridiculous. All of the episodes are ridiculous, and they're just so good. And I didn't know, it was just scraps made from other commercials and things.
Well, that's how it started, because that's the way that he sold it. And then after that, once they approved of the show, then he actually made characters for the show in particular. Funny enough, though, the Ghouls one is my favorite one. Just because of all the movie references. I love it so much. And I just, like, especially also the Freddy Krueger one where he's like, why are you, he's like, well, why were you running? Oh, I thought I was going to be late to work. He's like, well, what's your biggest fear? I don't know, failing at my job. Oh, how am I supposed to visualize that?
Which also is like another thing where it does kind of reflect on the light of like how fears have changed, because like you used to have nightmares, about this or that or getting murdered and killed. Now I have nightmares about being late to work and getting fired. Or like I have nightmares of like, oh no, I didn't go grocery shopping and now like
Now I
all
will
stores are
starve.
closed or something. Yeah, like shit like that, or like, God, my car isn't working. What do I do now? And like, no car works around me ever again. Now I have to like find a way to go places and run around. Yeah, so my visual fears, or at least my surface fears, have definitely changed to what from fears that I was younger. But Freddy Krueger would have been more effective. I
I also like the It Follows reference where that one creature's just following him. He just pulls out a treadmill.
A treadmill.
And then he's just like, all right, like break a sweat, buddy. And I was like, in my head, I was like, I wonder if that would have worked in It Follows. Like, if you would have just gotten a treadmill and then just been like, now you'll never catch me. As long as there's battery in the treadmill.
One, treadmills are electric. They're not battery powered.
I know, but you know what I mean. Look, for the sake of the joke.
I'm just saying. But Gumball is a cartoon I watch like nowadays, so it's something I like regularly enjoy because it's just entertaining. It is very meta, and they deal with a surprising amount of like real life issues, but in a fun way.
Yeah, that's true. Because I was gonna pick an episode, the episode, the transformation, when Penny cracks out of her shell, and her parents can't accept that she's being more free with her. So Jonathan, for context, Penny is a character in the show.
Egg.
No, well, she's a peanut with like moose ears, or moose antlers. And there's an episode where I forget what happens. I think Gumball does something because her and Gumball
he
are
tries
dating.
to kiss. So they're they're not fully dating yet. So they're in a play together, and he goes to give her a kiss, and then he like gets too close or something happens, and he smacks her and cracks her shell. And so part of her real self is like leaking out, and what is her real self is like this like glowing yellow thing that can shapeshift.
Well, shapeshifts with her emotions, like in her however she feels, she turns like, so if she's angry, she turns into a dragon. If she's shy, she turns into a mouse. Like she constantly can shapeshift into different forms.
So
I need to look up a picture of Penny.
I think you just need to watch it. Actually, I think I know my favorite episode is when Leslie, again with the flower, is wilting. And they're trying to figure out how to help because he's a very vain flower. Of course, he's a flower. And they're trying to help him, but they end up making everything worse. And they're like, oh, you're just wilting. All we have to do is cut your head off. So they chase him, but in like this garden style variety show where they're like, yes, when your flowers are wilting, just go ahead and cut their heads off. They will rebloom. And then you can use their heads for mulch. And they're chasing this poor flower around with like shears and just like, it's actually kind of horrifying on a base level, but like so entertaining because they're like, let's not look threatening. And they're smiling and their arms are a little waving. They're like, oh, don't worry. It's like you're trying to cut your friend's head off. It's a little concerning.
The Scream
it's just
one...
a weird show. I recommend it.
Oh, sorry, Jonathan. I was going to get back to you, though. The Scream one, though, was also... I love that one because that is that character. She is the creepiest character on the show. And so when she's just like, when she leaves her house and then she goes, I'm like, where the hell is she going? Because I haven't seen that episode in a long time. And then she's locking the doors and he's like, look, I gotta go. Someone's at the door. No, they don't. I just got in here. And now you have to watch a scary movie with me. No, I don't. I'm just gonna hang up the phone. She's right behind it.
You know what I think is funny is that me and Jonathan both picked Dexter's Laboratory, and I didn't.
I was just about to mention that.
Yeah, until after I picked it, and I was like, it was already Friday, and I'm like, oh, I'm not gonna send him another one. It's fine.
It's all right. Yeah, because
I mean, you picked two very different episodes. It feels like though.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you pick your episode, Jonathan?
So I picked because I haven't watched Dexter's Lab in a long time. As is the case with all of these, but except maybe Craig the Creek, but that was the episode that I remembered the most, especially the Big Sister episode when Dee Dee turns into a giant. I remember that episode very vividly. So yeah, that's why I picked that episode. And apparently that episode was one of the pilot episodes, but on HBO Max it's listed as like episode 10, which is interesting.
Well, a lot of
Dee
pilot
Dee's
episodes don't
room.
always necessarily become the first episode. There's a lot of pilot, because a pilot is just to pitch the show, and then sometimes they'll like the pitch is like, cause especially for cartoons, normally a pilot for a cartoon is not necessarily supposed to be the episode introducing the show, but rather just what is the show like? Here's what the show's like. So it's just an adventure. And so they're like, okay, cool. Now write the intro to the show and we'll make this pilot like, I don't know, episode 8 or something.
I thought the Dee Dee's room was like the cooties, the way he imagined the cooties and the way they made the cooties, they were like bees with flowers on them. One, I thought that was so cute, and two, it was just the visual of like, is this what kids think cooties are?
Right.
Because when I was younger, I never thought about cooties or anything. They weren't like a thing in my life. But I've heard like little kids say that, oh, you'll get cooties. I always thought cooties were like, I don't think I thought about what cooties were. I thought it was like germs. I never imagined them as like little bugs.
I remember that one episode of Rugrats where a kid gets like where a kid puts on like lotion and pretends he has cooties, and he's like, oh, it's cooties, and all the kids are afraid of cooties. But I really liked how that episode was done, how it was like he was going on a mission to Mars, but it was to Dee Dee's room.
For me, my favorite part, because it just brought me back, was I loved Dexter's Lab and a lot of the cartoons around that era because they felt like they were longer, and it's because they squeezed so much in that 20 minutes.
3 episodes in 20 minutes.
Yeah, well, because one of them is just a short, and so when that monkey short started, I was like, "Oh shoot, I forgot about Monkey." That's
Same.
And it just brought me back to my childhood immediately.
Yeah.
If it would have either been that, or if they had a Major Glory short, also would have brought me back. I would have been like, Major Glory, hell yeah, because it felt like a show within a show. It's like a whole other show.
It has nothing to do with
Right. It has nothing to do with Dexter's Lab or anything.
And what's surprising about Dexter's Laboratory, because even with mine, the reason I picked mine was because of the coffee thing. I still remember that so vividly.
I was expecting bigger consequences for the kids than just them just crying and breaking down because they don't have coffee.
That's because the mom had an extra spare, which... Little racist, the guy in the sombrero with the donkey in the cabinet.
Yes, very much so. That I saw that and I was like, oh man, I forgot about this.
I was like, is this supposed to be Mexican, Colombian, or what Latin representation?
I'm assuming Colombian,
because
a lot of coffee comes from Colombia.
And why did she just have them in her cabinet?
Like, she's like, thanks, Juan. I'm like, Juan?
Yeah,
really?
You can say Colombian, but that's pretty much Mexican.
That's pretty much Mexican, yeah.
So I was just like, oh, okay, cool there. But I think the only reason there wasn't bigger consequences because she had coffee. And I'm the same way. I will get mad if I don't have my coffee around. In fact, at work, they were calling me out about it. So there's a chat where we have, all the coworkers there being like, hey, do you have this referral for the doctor? Do you have this? And I sent a little gif of like a mushroom hopping around because it was like Friday. I was trying to be like fun. And my one coworker, Charina, was just like, Alex, have you had 3 cups of coffee already this morning? And I was like, first of all, it's been 2 cups of coffee and an energy drink, but don't worry about me. And then my boss was like, I did not provide her with those drinks. And I was like, why is everybody on me now? And Trina was like, are you making another cup of coffee for later today? I was like, leave me alone. Don't worry about me. Why is somebody so concerned about my drinking coffee? But it just reminded me so much of that. And I was like, oh, I remember that scene pretty well where they drink the coffee and all of a sudden they're pristine. And they're like ready to go.
Which I love the animation of how like how they operate, because like Dexter's dad is animated pretty traditionally. He has like regular feet, regular hands, stuff. Dexter's mom, she has hands, but her feet are like little pointed little little tips, and
Yeah.
then they just scrape across the ground when she's walking. Because that's how she walks in the show, and I'm just like, that's cute. That's fun.
I thought you were gonna talk about how in all of the cartoons they always make the mom always gotta have that.
She gotta have that booty.
Oh, yeah.
She gotta have the. Moms always come thick, apparently, in the Cartoon Network world.
Same with I think Timmy Turner's mom too.
Timmy Turner's mom too, yeah. She like you know what it is because when she wears the normal white pants, you don't think about it. It's just like when you have like those when like how white girls were saved when yoga pants were invented. Because like before that, the narrative was all white girls have flat booties, and then of course then yoga pants happened, and then it was just like, oh man, I guess that's not true. It's just y'all don't look good in jeans. That's what it is.
Sometimes, yeah, the pants you wear, I can openly say, do affect the way you look. I don't. Don't know how to keep
Listen,
going
Dex's
from that.
mom though. Dex's mom is probably like the coolest mom ever, cause she know cause she's like aware of like the craziness that is her two children, and she's still just like, hey, listen, I get it done. Although Dexter's Lab is a little more like, cause they show, I forget which one of your episodes it was, but they show another mom, and she's just another lady with an apron and rubber gloves, and I'm like, what are you trying to say? All moms just do is wash the dishes and cook. Like that
was still my episode because that's when Dee Dee gets turned into a horse and everybody wants to like.
Yeah, that was funny.
Like,
she's like, everyone wants to ride me.
I was like a little creeped out by that because I was like, they turned her into a pony, like a real like that. Because I don't know why that part creeped me out a little bit.
Well, especially because Dexter has a rope, and her two friends are like, they're chasing her down like she's a runaway slave or something. Like, now come on now, Dee Dee, you come on back to the ranch now. Don't make this more difficult than it has to be.
Pull a carriage and everything.
They immediately turn her into a slave.
The other two episodes I picked were
Billy and Mandy.
Billy and Mandy's Grim Adventures, which I was always really fond of, and my mom used to call me Mandy.
I remember you saying that.
Used to have. Yeah, it's fair. My voice used to be very, very monotoned growing up, so it sounded exactly like Mandy's, where people were like, "Are you being sarcastic? Are you mean?" They couldn't tell if I was being mean. A lot of people actually thought I was mean.
I like how in the episode they basically go to hell, and then they.
Well, funny enough, it's like I saw because I used to love Billy and Mandy so much, and when the tentacles came out, I was like, "Is that Nurgle?" And then when they meet him, and he's like, "I'm Nurgle," and I'm like, "This is Nurgle's introduction," because Nurgle comes back so many times throughout the show after this.
I never watched Billy and Mandy.
So I'm just like, I was like, cool. Like, this is the introduction to Nurgle. That's awesome.
I love Nurgle. He was always one of my favorite characters. And I almost picked the one where they were at the county fair. And Nurgle was like guessing people's like weight, I think. But then I was like, no, I want to find the first episode of Nurgle. So that's why I chose that one. Because I was like, he's weirdly one of my favorite characters. Because at first he's like evil. But then he becomes so like human style where he's like, I just want a friend.
Well, because he becomes like a dad.
Yeah. Well, he ends up dating Ares, the goddess of chaos.
Right. That's right.
So it was like another whole like layer there where they end up having a son together.
Because I remember his son being a big character after a while. My favorite is always Black Dracula. Dracula don't
about him.
I love his voice. He's just this like soul brother Dracula of just like, especially when that episode when him and Grimm get lost in the desert and he's just like Dracula don't suck blood. Dracula just scrape and lick. And I was just like, yeah. It just makes me laugh to this day. I love that episode.
The dialogue in this show always gets me because it's either like I don't know what it is about it that always makes me laugh really hard. I think it is the way Mandy says shit, which like I get now why people thought the way I talked when I was younger. but also like the way Billy responds to her and how they're still best friends. And how like she always watches out for Billy and Billy always tries to do the best he can.
Because she does care. It's just her delivery is very monotone.
Yeah.
Can you explain to me
Irwin too.
Where's Reaper's like where's Grimm's like lineage come from? Because he's Jamaican, and later we meet like one of his relatives who's also Jamaican. But then it's like you meet his aunt, and his aunt sounds like she's just an American lady who helped him make the cookies. And then you meet his mom, and his mom is like this Jewish woman. And I'm just like, where are you from, man?
Well, Death isn't from anywhere. He's from everything and anything. So like he's got a mixed family. Yeah. So yeah. Hi, Jenny.
I love his Jamaican quotes though every now and again where he's just like, you gotta know how to make a deal. We buy. And I'm like he did not need to add that line in there, but it's funny to me. Like, we bad.
Like when he always mentions like his like grandmother. He's like, Nana Grimm always said this, and I'm like, it's like, you can't do this and this, and they're like, what does that even mean? And he's like, I just don't do it.
I didn't realize that was Greg Eagles.
Cheddar doesn't do indecent exposure. We don't get flagged for that.
Alex, your other episode, Courage, for Courage the Cowardly Dog. I very much enjoyed the first episode. You must return the slab.
Yeah, you picked a classic. You picked a classic for sure.
That was always said to. Apparently, that was always said to be one of the scariest episodes. But
not to me. The one that scared me was the haircut one. Maybe the haircut one was always the scariest one for me.
Maybe it's a thing with like, as a kid, it might have been one of these. Because that the thing that the dude, the ancient ghost, whatever, he's scary looking because the animation is like different. And he's kind of scary looking. But the second episode, I vaguely remember that episode in the back of my mind. So you're telling me that you can't handle the SpongeBob toenail clipping scene, but you can handle this whole entire episode with the foot fungus.
Yes. And I don't, because
listen, I get it because the foot fungus doesn't look as like it's like all purple and messed up and weird. It's not as realistic and as visceral as watching a toenail get ripped off. This one, a dog licks it and then it just shrinks itself back all nice and peaceful, like, you know what I mean? Versus SpongeBob, we're watching a toenail get like ripped and wrenched and everything else. It's gross, Jonathan. You can't compare the two. They're not comparable.
I'd rather have the toenail than the foot fungus.
How? Okay, so the thing is with me, the foot fungus, I work with a doctor, which actually explains how I can work with this doctor who does oncology. So I actually see pretty gross stuff, and it's fine to me. Nails getting ripped off are not okay. I have limits. Nails getting ripped off and teeth getting pulled are like, I like can't, and anything to do with eyeballs. My mom thinks it's so funny because she'll describe, so she got like laser eye surgery and all this stuff, and she'll describe different ways that it occurred and how she got a needle in her eye, and I just start silently yelling at her like, knock it off, don't tell me that shit. But like,
I can't take
the foot fungus wasn't too bad.
I can't take the broken bones, as you know from our days working those late night shifts together where we would just
the only time the try not to react, the only time I did ever react properly was that one time with the eyeball removal surgery. I slammed my computer down. I closed it so hard and so quickly that I was like, I don't know how to open my laptop back up because that video will still be there when I open up the computer. So I don't know what to do. I can't open it forever now. It's closed. I have to go get a new one. So the fungus thing was fine for me. I liked the first part was always my favorite because then it just reminded me of every archaeologist, and I kind of wish that a ghost would come to them and be like, return the stuff you have in the British Museum.
But Eustace though, you got to give it this. He's got conviction. The man stuck to his guns even when he was in the tube. He was just like, "What's your offer?" Like he was with it, man. Muriel is a ride or die, because no matter what this man does, no matter what she has to deal with, she's like, but that's my Eustace, I love him. It is what it is.
But where else can she go though?
That's true. Well, they prove that everything they need is just to drive away. You know what I mean? The bank that's in the middle of nowhere. I'm like, who the hell banks here?
Well, the whole concept of the show that I don't know if they admitted or the creator said this or that it's just a fan theory, but it's just all perception from the dog's, point of view. That this is just Courage being like, oh, they're in the middle of nowhere and they don't go very far because he has 2 elderly owners, and really it's just this or that. Probably just somebody from the museum be like, give back our slab.
Right. I think that's a fan.
The fan theory, right? That nothing's actually scary. It's all just from Courage's perspective.
Mm-hmm. And they don't actually live in the middle of nowhere. It's just he doesn't get out much.
Jonathan, did you get a chance to watch Codename Kids Next Door?
No, that was the one I said.
This is my Sanjay and Craig. Very nice.
I never liked that show, and I was like, I kept putting it off to the point where it's like, I ended up not watching it. Sorry.
That's different. Jonathan missed it on accident. You did it on purpose.
I tried my best.
No, you didn't. Your best would be at least to turn it on.
I watched it through my eyelids, okay? I watched but I'm sure it was a great episode.
Yeah, well, I picked it also for you, Alex, because it's about a cat lady. It was the introduction of Cat Lady.
Yeah.
Who's great, and she's a great villain. I also had another one with the soda pop too, but I always forgot about that. I forgot about Fizz. He wasn't really a very popular villain. And also, Cree Summer I was gonna give some Cree. Well, I'm gonna give it anyway. So Cree Summer love, because I love number 5. She's one of my favorite characters Cree Summer's ever done is number 5.
Cree Summer's great. Going back to our pre-topic conversation, Cree Summer is also in Swarm as well.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Oh, cool. Yeah. That cast list keeps getting better.
Mm-hmm. She's only in an episode as well, but that's
yeah.
But still, that's a pretty good guest star to have. Mm-hmm. I don't know much of her work just by name, but I know her. I'm one of those people that I hear the voice and I'm like, hey, I know who that is.
My favorite characters from her are number 5, Susie, and then Foxy from Drawn Together. And especially it's mostly because she does a lot of kids cartoons, so doing Drawn Together is her doing an adult cartoon, and Foxy is easily the most adult character because every word out of her mouth is either sexual or violent. So but she sells it. She has a great voice for that sultry femme fatale blaxploitation character, so it fits.
You know what I was gonna say? I was gonna mention some of the shows that were not on the list, like Johnny Bravo, which isn't on HBO Max for some strange reason.
That's how I felt about one of the ones I was gonna pick was Mega Sex LR, which is a cartoon that very few people know. Oh my gosh, no, Alex is gone.
Our weekly.
Well, she'll be back. But yeah, I was gonna pick Mega Sex LR, which is about a giant robot, and is a really cool cartoon. And there's a lot of I think that's part of the purge. I think there's some cartoons that might just not be on. Hey, welcome back. I think there's some cartoons that aren't on HBO Max because of the cartoon, the purge they did. Because also another cartoon I would have picked if it was up there is Infinity Train, which is I think one of Cartoon Network's best cartoons ever. And it's no longer on HBO Max anymore, and I'm just like, God damn it.
I've heard of that. Isn't like it is a train, and like every train's a different like world almost, or every like cabin.
Yeah, it's essentially it's about like each season's about a new character, and it's about stuff like depression, dealing with anxiety, dealing with peer pressure, stuff like that. But through the lens of they like the main character gets dropped on this train with an almost infinite amount of cars, and each car they is its own world and stuff, and through solving it or figuring out what's going on within that car, they are supposed to learn lessons that'll allow them to help them process whatever it is they're going through, and then eventually bring them back home at some point. It's really
that sounds
deep.
too heavy for me.
It's really deep lore and really interesting and great. And it got canceled after 4 seasons, mainly just low viewership. But I loved Infinity Train so much, and that's another one that's like it's not on HBO Max anymore. Can't find it nowhere.
They're like, we're done.
I probably would have chosen Johnny Bravo had it been on HBO Max. Also, side note, Cree Summer's going to be in Ironheart, the Marvel.
The Marvel show or like a cartoon?
The show on
okay.
Disney Plus.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Maybe she'll be Riri's mom, because Riri Williams' mom is a big character in her comics.
Okay. But also, I'm surprised nobody picked Powerpuff Girls too.
I wanted to, but I was like, I want to. I feel like there's so many others that I want to do that don't get as much shine, because everybody knows about Powerpuff Girls. Everybody that. That's one of the shows that got a reboot in the modern day to come back and do some more.
You know what I realized nobody picked was Adventure Time. Like that was another really popular show that had quite a few good episodes.
Funny enough, though,
it got a little feel weird at the end, though.
Well, because it had all this canon that eventually they like decided to really start diving into in the later seasons, which it was always there. I remember reading because at college. In the library, we had the art book for Adventure Time, and it told the story of how Adventure Time was pitched and everything. And the creator of Adventure Time had this very detailed story with all this backstory and canon and lore of like, there's the Mushroom Wars, and then like that's how the humans become like the last of their race. But then like the Candy Kingdom with Bubble, like all this stuff. And he pitched it to Cartoon Network. And they were like, yeah, we like it, but let's maybe not do all that just now, like just yet. And so that's why the first few seasons, it's just random adventures with Finn and Jake with a small stuff here and there that's tying to the canon. And then once the show became mega popular, then it was like, okay, now we can just go full in and just go straight into the canon in this really epic adventure story that he had written, which is kind of cool. It just made I checked out though because of the randomness of the adventures, because I had kind of started weaning off from cartoons at that point when Adventure Time came out. So I remember just being like, I'm not really interested in it as much, and kind of just drifted off from it. Coming back now though, trying to rewatch all of it.
I drifted off nearing the end part because it just got a little too weird for me. I think around the time Finn like lost his arm, I was like, I'm confused to what's going on. Adventure Time is one of those shows that you can't really skip episodes.
Yeah, everything ties back.
May have happened.
Yeah,
everything really is connected.
The same thing with like Steven Universe.
I could not get into that show. I tried. A few of our coworkers like, it's really good. Ow, but I couldn't.
That's how you felt about
get into it.
Ow.
That and like I have this hanging off my sleeve right now.
Yeah, I was about to say I see Cheddar back there.
See the arm.
Like,
I got this on my arm right now. So don't mind me.
There's a like you know what it is? It's that I think as of late, Cartoon Network's cartoons right now are in this weird nebulous place where they're either these super drawn out and very lore heavy stories like Steven Universe, like Cartoon Network, or not Cartoon Network, sorry, Adventure Time, stuff like that. Or they're the random stuff like Craig of the Creek or
Gumball.
or Gumball or We Bare Bears, like where it's just random adventures.
Oh yeah, that's pretty popular now too. Don't they have
Yeah.
multiple of those shows?
They have a new one where
They
they're
even
like
have
baby
that
bears.
movie, too.
And the movie, yeah. We Bare Bears is doing really well. So it's like
I have no idea what it's about other than bears.
it's about
It's
bears
about 3
and they go
bears.
on adventures. Like that's it. It's not very elaborate at all.
I like Ice Bear. Ice Bear's cool.
Haha, badoomts.
That was not my intention, but I'm happy it came out that way.
Oh, I just got it.
Even better.
But it's I think that's interesting because we didn't really talk about the current state of Nicktoons when we did our Nicktoons retrospective. Nicktoons feels like it's in a weird place too, though, where it's like Nicktoons is just throwing anything at the wall. The only thing they have that's consistent is Ninja Turtles, if they don't keep rebooting it like 6 or 7 times. But you better believe there's always Ninja Turtles around for them to have.
And then they created a new SpongeBob too.
Right.
Yeah, like multiple new
Yeah.
SpongeBob stuff. Like they have, what is it? The Camp Coral.
Camp Coral and then the Patrick
Star
show.
or whatever. The
Yeah.
Patrick Show or whatever.
They have a pair. That's weird.
Yeah,
What
it's
is
called the
that?
Patrick
What is
Show.
he doing?
It's,
He sleeps all day.
He just hangs with his family. But it's not the same family from that episode where you actually meet his family, which has a lot of people wondering, because there's a lot of his family reacts to him as if they don't know him. And so a lot of people are theorizing that the Patrick Star Show may have slight dark undertones in that he's just intruded on this random starfish family but they're not really his family. He's just treating them like they are.
I feel like as a writer, they're just fucking with people, trying to see what we
because
can do.
the Camp Coral stuff is not in line with the timeline of the original series. because
Right.
They're all kids.
And they all know each other.
Right, which
Yeah.
that wasn't the case for the Sandy.
The 1999, yeah.
Well, they're
Yeah.
trying to pull a like a pup named Scooby Doo, where they're trying to pull a like, oh, well, this is like its own thing. But it's like, okay, but you can't have your cake and eat it too, because in the SpongeBob movies, which are supposed to take place in the same canon as the original cartoon, you act like this is canon.
Well, they're doing that with the Rugrats series now too, because
Yeah.
the new Rugrats series, because Kimmy's in it, but Dill is not, and Kimmy came after Dill in the original series.
Right, yeah.
So
That's weird.
Yeah, I think they're trying to find their new space with cartoons nowadays. Because I don't know. The cartoons feel like weirder than before, and I think they're trying to almost go back to the 90s style of cartoons where it was just like weird shit with a deeper meaning, where like with Cartoon Network and with, Nickelodeon, it was just like I said, less human, more humanoid stuff, but they're trying to do the humanoid stuff with the humans, and now it's just this weird stuff, and now they don't know what to do, so they just keep rebooting things because they're like, hey, the parents like this, maybe the parents will make the kids watch it. I think that's what they're almost going for.
Well, I think in Cartoon Network's vein, they're trying to be a little more inclusive, because like Craig of the Creek, you got a lot more character. You got a whole family characters of color to be involved in that one. You've got Steven Universe and Adventure Time are very LGBT friendly, with a lot of LGBT characters in it. In both shows, Powerpuff Girls being a lot more inclusive of like a lot of women and female empowerment in that show, because the Powerpuff Girls in the rebooted series are a little older. I think they're in like elementary school. So it's like, I think Cartoon Network, that's where they're at right now, is trying to be more aware and more open. Disney Channel too, because you got like Owl House and stuff like that over there. But and then Nickelodeon, not that Nickelodeon isn't, it's just I think Nickelodeon is just like, we're just trying to get some like heyday, like some of that like some of our powerhouse cartoons back. Like, because right now I don't think they have any. I can't think of any like cartoons that are on the same level as a Steven Universe or an Adventure Time or
Are
anything
you
else.
good over there,
Like,
Jonathan?
yeah, I'm about to say you looked really concerned.
Yeah, because earlier I did see some blue flashing lights.
Yes,
through your
I was about to
window.
say, if you notice, because I saw them because my blinds are open right now, and I can see that's like the third police that's
Are they outside your apartment or passing your apartment?
they're passing. They're like on the,
Oh, okay.
and I think there's
Okay.
wait, something's going on. Anyway,
Well,
I kind of want to know.
we're on video right now, so
yeah.
Oh, that's right. All right, we're doing something.
Well,
Sorry, go
No,
ahead.
nonetheless,
we're on video. So if something happens, then
that's true.
it'll
We
be
have
captured.
evidence,
right.
but you know, that's I think we've said all we wanted to say. Does anybody else have anything extra they wanted to say about Cartoon Network or, like, or just this experience of rewatching or just watching and being introduced to any of these cartoons? And are there any that you think you'll pick up after this that you're now
I think
like?
I'm definitely gonna pick up Craig of the Creek.
Nice.
Because I thought that was cute and just like a funny show, and it'd be nice to kind of have that in the background because that kid was cute. It was a cute show.
It's definitely a fun show. I loved. I forgot how great Dexter's Lab was. I really enjoyed watching that, and all of the show. I didn't not enjoy watching any of the shows. I had a good time watching all of them.
Yeah,
I recommend watching Gumball, Jonathan, because it is just a fun show to watch.
Okay.
It's just entertaining.
and
It
it's
was-
fast.
the episode
Each episode's
was-
like 11 minutes, so
Right.
Yeah.
you can burn through episodes really quickly.
Well,
What about you,
with-
Jerome?
Oh.
Wait.
Oh yeah. Oh sorry.
I mean,
So
I
you were-
I love all these cartoons. Cartoon Network was always my favorite, so like all of these just brought back a lot of nostalgia for me, of the of my childhood especially. And there's a lot more I would have picked that I just we had to do 3, so I picked 3 that I felt would be interesting to see. But it's like thinking about like Ben 10 and what was the other one, like Generator Rex and so many others that I would have loved to have picked for us to watch and stuff. So it's just, this was great. We didn't get to talk about 16 very much, but also 16 too was just a great show for me to just put on. And now that I know it's on YouTube on that like channel, I might just rewatch a lot of episodes of 16 when I'm just in the mood.
There was that joke in 16 where the girl's asking him like, "Oh, where are you thinking of working?" And he's like, "Grind me." And she was
Yeah.
like, "Excuse me?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "The coffee shop."
And
Lord.
audience, if you want to catch up with any of these watch any of these episodes we talked about today, you'll want to check out, we already told you the Craig of the Creek one, but Dexter's Lab season 1 episode 10, which is Dee Dee's Room, Hunter, and Big Sister. Also season 3 episode 10, Topped Off, Dee Dee's Tale, and No Power Trip. And then 16 season 1 episode 1, Teen Titans season 2 episode 6, Date with Destiny. For the episode everyone missed, but maybe you might be interested in, Codename Kids Next Door season 2 episode 1, Operation Cats, Operation Pop. Season 6 episode 25 of The Amazing World of Gumball, entitled The Ghouls. Season 1 episode 5, King Ramses' Curse and the Clutching Foot of and that's Courage the Cowardly Dog. And lastly is Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy season 1 episode 13, Fiend is Like Friend, without the R, Recipe for Disaster, and A Dumb Wish is the title of that episode. So yeah, check out any of those, and also comment below, tell us about any of your favorite Cartoon Network picks that are Cartoon Network shows you remember watching when you were a kid, or Cartoon Network shows maybe you're still watching now that you're just like, hey, this is still good, I still enjoy it. Let us know.
Nice. And where can people follow everyone at? I think Alex is frozen.
Nope.
No, she's not. She's right
Oh.
there.
Cheddar's digging for something under my dresser, and I'm really concerned. I'm hoping it's just a toy and not like a spider or anything. But I don't trust him, so I keep like looking down. No, I'm here. Just
Sorry.
making
I
sure he's
genuinely
getting a
thought you
toy.
were-
No, I've made this joke before. I go into NPC mode sometimes where I look like I'm not moving. I look frozen, but I'm actually not. I'm here. I'm just making sure he's there. It's just a toy. But anyway, you can find me in motion at Alex and Nobody on Instagram and on TikTok, as well as the podcast TikTok, The First Ones to Die, where I post little clips of the episodes we are doing, what we may review next, and my little commentary on movies and shows I'm watching where it gets weird. Like I recently did watch the scene from Megan, the movie.
I need to watch
yeah.
that. I was thinking of watching that this weekend.
That toy at the beginning is very traumatizing to me, and then the doll is worse. I recommend people watch it and, see what I mean. But where are we finding you, Jonathan?
You can find me at Jonathan Keys on Twitter, Instagram, wherever you please. You can follow us at The First Ones to Die on all of the social networks. You can email us thefirstones2die@gmail.com. If you're watching us on YouTube, please give us a like and subscribe. Go ahead and comment on the video as well. What were your favorite Cartoon Network shows? If you're listening to us on your favorite podcast listening platform, go ahead and give us 5 stars and give us a review. Jerome, where can people find you?
You can find me at Not Jerome Red and also at RoboZoo Media, as well as at Jerome_the_show to see all of the other stuff I'm working on as well. And also check out the YouTube channel at The First Ones to Die to get a whole bunch of exclusive content that you can only get up there that you can't get on all the audio streaming platforms. Stuff like mini reviews, book reviews, gaming content, vlogs, and of course video versions of all of the podcasts so you can see our lovely faces as well. So go on over there, check that out, and subscribe. And favorite and share all those things.
Yes. And we'll see you all next week with something.
Well, next week's
Another
April Fools.
Surprise.
So,
that's right.
Who knows? Maybe we might surprise you with no episode, or maybe we might not even be here. Maybe we'll have a whole bunch of stuff. You never know.
We'll have Lex, Rome, and Nathan. That's those will be the co-hosts for next week.
Are those generic white names you chose, or is that meaning something?
No, they're versions of our names.
Yeah,
Alex, Lex, Jerome, Rome, and Jonathan, Nathan.
Oh,
we'll be the nega versions of ourselves.
I was like, those are just very generic white names.
No, sorry.
All right,
sorry.
but
Al, Jerry.
No.
and John.
I'd rather go with Lex. Do Lex.
The return of Al Pal, John Bon, and Jer Bear. It'll be great.
Anyway, we'll see you next week for who knows what. It's a surprise.
All right,
Bye.
Bye.